Hello and welcome to the Let's Talk Fraud Show, a podcast highlighting everything you need to know to fight fraud. My name is Soltan Hassanieh, and I use my experience as an internal auditor and my knowledge as a certified fraud examiner to spread awareness, helping you detect frauds and stop fraudsters. Thank you for joining us today. Hi there! Welcome to another episode of Let's Talk Fraud podcast. Criminals that commit fraud target many of us in different ways. That's why it's so important for us to share information about particular scams to avoid others from being victimized. Many of us are simply too embarrassed to share their stories, and we understand that. However, we'd be surprised that statistics show that everyone is vulnerable from all walks of life. All are potential victims. In fact, almost every person around us has been scammed in a way or another. Stay tuned, in this episode we'll be talking more about the jobs and employment scam, and after that we'll be listening to your stories with fraud. Employment fraud is one of the schemes that is spreading lately. How does it work? The employee agency, or in other words, the scammer, contacts you by email or phone, offering you a job that requires very little effort for high return, or as they say it, a guaranteed way to make money quickly. It's not only through agencies. You may even come across false job opportunities on classified ad websites. To accept the job, you will be asked to pay what's called an application fee. In many cases, after you pay the fee, you may not receive anything, or what you do receive is not what you even expected or what was promised. Sometimes scammers get you a freelance job and get you to do several assignments to complete. On the completion of the work, the scammer will refuse to pay you using excuses such as the work wasn't being up to the required standards. Another type of job opportunity scam asks you to use your bank account to receive and pass on payments to a foreign company. The scammers promise you a percentage commission for each payment you pass on through your bank account. This is likely to be a form of a criminal laundering, which is a criminal offense. If you provide your account details, the scammer may also use them to steal your money and commit other fraudulent activities. So, what are the warning signs in this scheme? Well, let me list you some of these. First, you will come across an online or a newspaper advertisement, or might also receive an email, letter, or a phone call offering you a guaranteed income or job. Second, the message may claim to get lots of money with a little effort, just using your personal computer while you're sitting on your couch at home. The message you received is not addressed to you personally. The message asks you to provide personal details or a fee for more information about the job or startup materials. The message does not have a street address or any contact of any person, only an email address. You are asked to transfer money on behalf of someone else, which may be considered money laundering. We will be giving you tips on how to protect yourself by the end of the podcast. Don't miss that! Like what you hear so far? Make sure you never miss the show by clicking the subscribe button now. This podcast is made possible by listeners like you. Thank you for the support. Now back to the show. Have you ever been a victim of fraud? Unfortunately, many of us have. Trust me, fraudsters are heartless. They don't care whom they hurt or whose life they destroy. As long as they get the money, that's what they want. And if you've already been a victim of fraud, you need to be extra careful because fraudsters may try to victimize you again. That's called the recovery scam. How? The fraudsters pretend that they can help you get back the money you have lost, and all you have to do is to pay a fee for that service. Now, it is hard to imagine the boldness of it, but they might even tell you they belong to an official agency and they work as a secret internal security officer. Then you never hear from them again and you will never get your money back. So if you've lost the money, be prepared that someone else who is also working with the original scammer may try to take advantage of you again. The secondary fraudsters might send you a phone message or even call you. So be careful and don't give out any personal information to anyone under whatever circumstances. You do not know if he or she belongs to an official agency that can recover your money, and don't pay them any fees. In the following segment, we will hear some of your personal stories with fraud.
I was applying for a personal loan, but unfortunately the application got rejected by the bank since my records showed no payments of installments given for any existing car loan. which, by the way, I never got. The issue is that a friend of mine used my details to get a car, and I didn't know what happened. So I had to hire lawyers and things because the bank didn't believe my story and that I'm the one who authorized the person to take the loan using my name. And now, every time I apply for any banking product, my profile is rejected just because of that incident. That wasn't even me.
Just about a week ago, I had a situation where somebody had scanned my debit card and was able to recreate the PIN, and they tried to withdraw around $700 out of my account, and that wasn't allowed. Then they tried again for $100, and that went through, and it was flagged by my bank, and they caught it in time, but ended up freezing my card for about a week to investigate the case. Everyone needs to be very careful when it comes to using their debit card. Always cover it up with your hands or whatever. You can try to move it away from a fixed position, because I have heard of cameras that are even pointing at it to read it. I do not even know how this guy read mine, but I'm extra careful with them now for sure.
I would like to thank our guests for sharing their stories. Such stories might prevent someone else from falling for the same scam. It's all about prevention. I have a couple of tips for you. Well, first, be suspicious of unsolicited work from home opportunities or job offers, particularly those that offer a guaranteed income or requires you to pay an amount upfront fee. Second, if the job involves making or selling a certain type of product or service, find out if there is a market for it. Ask for references from other people who have done the work or used the product, and make the effort to speak to those people. Do not deal with an employer or a company that does not have a street address. They can be difficult to contact or to trace later on. Avoid an arrangement with a stranger that asks you for an upfront payment. Last but not least, never agree to transfer money for someone else. This is considered money laundering and it's a criminal offense. Thank you for listening to the Let's Talk Fraud podcast. Before we go, show some love for your favorite podcast by leaving us a review, and don't forget to follow me on social media platforms listed in the description. Stay tuned for next week's episode, and don't forget, where there is a human, there is a fraud.